Hey there, welcome to another video. I am drinking a little tea before I go to bed today. And so today's tea choice is, what is this? Moringa with ginger. I don't put any sugar or anything in it. That's it. I put some loose leaf moringa leaves in it. Moringa is like, I guess like a multivitamin. And apparently it's got like magnesium and things in it that's supposed to help you sleep. We'll see. This is a little experiment today, but the ginger is good for digestion. I like to drink ginger tea at night anyway. So that's what I'm drinking. But I also want to talk today about our writing topic of the day. So writing isn't a dream. A lot of people look at writing as a dream. However, I look at writing as a skill that helps people achieve their dream of freedom. And I'll tell you what that means. Writing has really been framed as either an art, it's been framed as either an art or something that some people, like, they either get lucky at or they don't. And it's neither one of those. Well, sometimes it is. It can be either one. Writing is an art, meaning that if you look at it as an art and you've never really done it before, or you haven't been trained properly, or you didn't grow up doing it, or you've been told by a teacher that you haven't done it before, or that you're not good at it, then people will often say, well, I can't be a writer, it's not for me. You've already decided, even though maybe you write in private, maybe you used to write when you were younger and now you just kind of put it away. But neither one of those are true. People often also say that being a writer or making a living out of writing is a matter of luck. And it's not so much that it's a matter of luck as it is that those who seem to have all the luck were prepared when the luck showed up. Prepared meaning that they had been writing for years. When it felt like they were writing, in this deep dark hole and putting their stuff out there, and perhaps no one was responding immediately, they wrote anyway. Perhaps they were publishing stuff that nobody bought. But in the process of doing these things, they were getting better at their craft, so that when opportunity showed up, it felt like they were prepared for it. They had things to be able to show, to be able to say that I am ready for this life. And that's when, people find their work and they get the big book deals. Or, they get a chance to be on somebody's TV show. Or, they've been writing stuff for years and then finally one of their books hit and now they're a multimillionaire. That sort of a thing. And so people think that if you believe that being a writer or making a living out of writer is more out of luck, then perhaps it may not be for you. And I don't think that that's true at all. If you are pitching, if you're pitching ideas, particularly magazine ideas, if you're pitching ideas to be able to work with other clients who might need your writing services, any sort of pitching that you are doing, when you're actively going out there and looking for your opportunities and talking to people and helping to sort of mold their thought that you have, the ideas that are going to help them move their business forward, move their project forward, anything like that. That's really the thing that's going to help you to create income, that's going to help you create visibility for yourself, and that's going to help you create options in your life. The writing that I have done, the skill of pitching, the skill of going to businesses and telling people, well, this is I see what you all are doing, and this is how I can help you move your message forward using my skills as a writer. That has given me more options in my life so that I can opt out of a regular 9 to 5 existence for me to be able to move abroad. I have been living outside of the United States since 2018, and I am very excited about that. I love my life abroad, and I started out going to Thailand, stayed there for close to a year, and since then, since 2018, I have lived in 10 different countries. I've been to more countries than that, throughout my life. But I think to be able to say that I've actually lived in 10 different countries since 2018, I think is, I think that, that it's a cool thing to say. I think that's worth something. I think that's something that needs to be stated. It's very different to be able to say I lived in a country than it is to just sort of pass through as a traveler or, on vacation. It's a different experience. And so, yeah, I really have pitching, my skill of being able to pitch for the way that it has sort of changed how it is that I'm able to see my skills, and to be able to use that to be able to make me to be able to help me create the life it is that I've always wanted. And so I didn't have to necessarily throw my whole life away. More so than what I did was I sat down and I purposely created a life. As I always like to say, I had to create a life that's worth writing about. I never fit into any of my 9 to 5 jobs. Now that I sit and I think about it, I look back, and I always had a thought that, maybe there was something wrong with me. And it wasn't that there was anything wrong with me. What I was thinking about was, it just wasn't a fit. And thank God I was born during this time when remote work and being a digital nomad is actually a thing. Because I remember when I had these thoughts when I was like early in the early 2000s. That was when I started writing online as a blogger. I started off writing online as a blogger, sharing my work in education, and then eventually I transitioned into writing about my own health and wellness journey online, and the types of opportunities that I was able to take on because I was practicing this new thing with writing online and attracting an audience. And so I got like work contracts where I was teaching classes and teaching classes about blogging and writing, and blogging for to be able to impact government, blogging to be able to create an audience. And I really, really loved that. I think I'm a good teacher. I have a master's degree also in education, adult education in particular, because I've always believed that learning is powerful, um, and that I love the way that adults learn. We do a lot of self-education, self-directed education. And so I was never really necessarily interested in learning about learning as far as what you do in where somebody else decides what it is that you should be doing. I've always believed that the adult learner should be the one that decides what it is that they would like to be able to do, and perhaps going into a formal school of an institution of education might be part of that process, but it's a lot bigger. But what happens a lot of times is that, particularly if you come from a disadvantaged background, you just sort of put all of your faith into these big institutions and hope that they will tell you where it is that you belong and what it is that you're supposed to create. And into what it is that you're supposed to create, and what you wind up is you wind up taking a passive or a back seat to your own life. You give the reins of your life to somebody else, to some other outside educational institution that doesn't know you. And so what I actually like to do with the type of education that I really enjoy is more so this apprentice model of education, where you find somebody who is doing well in an area that you would love to be able to learn and to be able to do and create. You learn the basics from them. You learn as much as you can over the course of weeks, months, sometimes years. And then you take that knowledge and you move on. You create your thing until eventually you become an apprentice to the next generation. And so that's really where I am with my writing right now. I've been a writer, a professional writer. Reading as well, I've had a professional writing business since 2015. So I guess 2026. This is years 16. Jesus, this is year 11. This is year 11 for me. And so I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about, and I've never been a full-time writer well, that's not even true, because I did have a full-time editing position, working when I moved to Orlando. I was editing test questions. Dear God, that was the worst. That was just the worst job. And it was just a year-long contract to be able to help me get on my feet. And I took that money and I invested in coaching to be able to work with someone who could help me build my writing business. And ever since then, once I completed that 1 year working contract, I swore to God that I would never have another 9 to 5. And I kept to that promise to myself. And so here I am 11 years later, 10 countries later. I am sitting exactly where I am meant to be. Right now, I live in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. So I live at the beach. It's maybe about 10-15 minutes, depending on how fast you walk, down the road. And it's a beautiful life. I love Playa del Carmen. It's a beautiful town. It's a beautiful city. It's nice to be in the Caribbean. However, this is not the city where I want to be able to stay. I have my sights on a different city that I would like to be able to go to, and I'll do another video on that at another time. But really, I owe my skill. The point of this video is that I really owe my skill of pitching, my skill of learning how to be able to see the vision for what someone is creating, and for their business, for a magazine, or what have you, and to be able to pitch ideas that get my writing skills into the door. into the door of their business, and we can start to work together. And so I say this because some of you are really standing at the edge of a different life. People have been saying for at least a decade, maybe two, that at some point there's going to be a different way to be able to work. What I'm seeing now is that a lot of people are struggling with this transition into this new way of thinking, a new way of working. And even I myself, even after 11 years of working on my own, there's a transition that I have had to go through, with the advent of AI and other things that are just changing the way that the world is working right now. And it's always going to be like that. You just have to get used to it. If you don't like change, if you don't like trying new things, I'm not the chick to be watching. But a lot of you are standing at the precipice of a different life. And you've always wanted this different life, but for whatever reason you chose being conventional. And there's nothing wrong with that, because being conventional, I'm sure that there are tons of skills that you have learned in your conventional life that you can actually use in your life as a writer. But I want to propose to you that now that writing is how you step into your new life without having to burn everything that you've done before down. It's not necessary. So I have a couple of things going on. Number one, on February 22nd, 2026, I will start an 8-week container for folks who are interested in learning how to pitch for magazines. If this is something that you have always wanted to do, I want to invite you to go to the Linktree link in the description box. And you'll be able to find the link to my course. If you're still just trying to hang out and sort of seeing who I am and what it is that I do, I have a freebie for you. It's called 5 Successful Magazine Pitches. I've written for places like Essence Magazine. I've written for Business Insider. I've written for Next Avenue. I've written food articles for AARP, the magazine. That's the actual print publication. If you're a Black woman, you've probably, who is close to or over the age of 50, you've probably heard of Sisters from AARP. That's a very popular newsletter. And I've written a host of articles for them about my travels and my food, things that I have learned about food and well-being over the last 7 years. So I invite you to check that out. But in my freebie, 5 successful magazine pitches, what I do is I give you 5 pitches that I've written, and underneath each pitch is a link to the actual magazine that it was published in. So you can see the difference between how a pitch actually turns into how the pitch turns into an actual magazine article. And so I thought that would be useful for you to be able to have, as well as some other short resources that I give in that particular email if you want to stay connected to me. So I invite you to do that as well. So thank you for hanging out with me today. My name is Halana Black. Please do like this video. Subscribe if you want to be able to know when my next video is going to be able to come out. And then leave a comment. I want to know who's here. If you've gotten all the way to the end of this video, I would love to be able to know who you are. Tell me where you are, what you're doing, what does your writing life look like, or what would you like it to look like? I'd like to know these things. So, see you in the next video. Peace.